All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We have a kind of fun 7-game slate here today on Saturday. Let's go ahead and break it down. So guys, looking at the slate, we are getting a lot of players that are questionable to play that are kind of big names here, like instantly Cade Cunningham, Jamal Murray, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson, all players that do kind of move the needle in regards to how we're going to go about attacking the slate. But even in this first game, guys, I think we are getting enough value due to some of the injury news that we have. Like Peyton Pritchard is going to be out here for Boston. And so with that, I do think that's going to create some value for us just in regards to like Derek White. He becomes like even a safer option on the slate, even though the last couple of games hasn't really done much. I think he becomes a better click, but Anthony Simons is going to be pretty darn appealing as well, coming in off of a very good game in his last game where he got 34 minutes. Obviously, he's not going to shoot. I was going to say he's not going to shoot as well as he did, but I guess he didn't even really shoot well. 7 for 16. I mean, that's not bad. Obviously, you take 43% from 3-ball range, but it's not like he just was crushing it. That's interesting, just how much he ended up shooting. But we would even take, guys, the recent production that he's got minus his 12-point game, 12 fantasy point game. Every other outcome would be decent. I think that's going to end up being his floor. And if we take a peek at Boston and the value, guys, he's going to be one of the best values just on the slate, but especially for Boston. And I don't hate the idea of getting Takeda, but overall, I think Anthony Simons is someone we're going to be looking at, especially for those early games. We jump on into Atlanta, guys, on the other side of this. Sure, we could get to Jalen Johnson. We can get to Anika a little bit. That's due to the other big still being out. Porzingis, Rice Asher there. But none of them are must plays by any means. If you can pay up for Jalen Johnson with all the value that's on the site, sure, go ahead and do it. But I don't think it's a must play, especially against Boston. Although, worth calling out, guys, the game total, not terrible, 230 and a 3-point spread. And then from there, let's take a peek at Indiana versus Detroit, guys. So Indiana is still kind of banged up with the same players that have been out, so there's really not much value for them. There could be some value for Detroit, guys, if we get news that Cade or Thompson end up sitting. They're both listed as probable right now. The only reason I think they could end up sitting, one of them, would be the fact that they are pretty heavy favorites against the Pacers. So like we take a peek at the Pacers, Isaiah Jackson is somewhat popping up. I don't hate that, guys. I think you could get to him, but I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but really not someone I think we need to get to. And then for Detroit as well, not really much here. Duran's fine, Cade Cunningham's fine, but overall nothing too crazy here. And so Phoenix versus New York, guys, honestly, without the news of whether or not Jalen Brunson or Devin Booker are going to play, we don't know what to do yet with that game as well. Now, if Brunson ends up sitting, Josh Hart becomes a very interesting click. Towns becomes a better click as well. Mikal Bridges becomes a better click. Like all three of those plays are pretty appealing if Brunson were to end up sitting. And same thing goes for Phoenix, guys. Like if we get news that Devin Booker sits, sure, we'd be looking at Ryan Dunn a little bit. Mark Williams would be a little bit better. Colin Gillespie is appealing. And then we'd be looking at Jordan Goodwin. I was actually really shocked on the last slate, guys, with Jordan Goodwin. I mentioned to you guys that he was someone I was going out of my way to target. He came in at like 2% owned. I was extremely shocked at that. Ended up playing 32 minutes, 34 DFS points at his price tag there. That was very useful for us at 4.4. And I think he'd still be someone we would want to look at on this site. It just makes sense for him to get a lot of run. And so if Booker's out, he'd be the pivot I'd want to get to. But other than that, I mean, you could be looking at Grayson Allen a little bit. You could look at some of the other guards as well. But other than that, I think we kind of pass up on that. And kind of another interesting spot here is with the Timberwolves versus the Spurs, guys, where Castle is currently questionable for the Spurs. And you also have Edwards still questionable as well. If Castle sits, I think that kind of brings in Keldon Johnson a little bit for the Spurs. If Anthony Edwards sits, we kind of know who to play for Minnesota. Julius Randle becomes a better click. DiVincenzo, I would say, is probably properly priced. Bones Highland we'd be looking at for sure. It'd be interesting to see if Berninger ends up getting some run here as well if Ant-Man ends up sitting. Now, he only played because Rudy Gobert was also out. He only played a decent amount of minutes because Rudy Gobert was also out. But maybe that's someone we could look at for value. I don't think we need to get there. I think we would just be looking at Bones Highland, though. Reed becomes someone that would benefit as well if Ant-Man were out. And then we take a peek at this, guys. The projection did nothing too crazy for Minnesota. Again, without anyone being out. And then for the Spurs, sure, if Castle sits, I think Fox would actually end up becoming a very appealing click. But right now, as it currently sits, I don't think we need to get there. And then, guys, let's take a peek at OKC versus Miami. And I want to spend some time on Miami. Tyler Hero is currently questionable. This is a tough matchup for Miami. They're going to be like 10-point dogs. Tyler Hero is questionable. If he were to sit as well, like we know who we want to be looking at, Powell would be definitely a great click for us, especially at his price tag. It already is, but obviously tough matchup. And it's a game that does have blowout risk. Wiggins is fine. I actually don't mind chasing his upside. Again, with Hawkes and Mitchell out, like we want to be looking at some pieces. And then Ware is someone that, guys, the minutes have been brutal for him recently. Okay. And so it's a little bit concerning, but if he ends up getting more run than what he's gotten recently, he would go off. Okay. If he gets 25 plus minutes, he would go off. Like per 36 wise, he crushes with those players off the court. And so that'd be interesting to see if he would get more run. And so we take a peek at kind of the projections right now, guys. I'm actually surprised that Powell isn't getting more love, but I think it's just due to the game. Again, 237, 233.7, sorry, for the game total. We like that, but 10-point spread in a tough matchup, that is concerning. I do really like his floor, though. I think he's a strong play. Wiggins does hold some, kind of GP winning upside if he goes off. And then Bam has been the player that's been getting more run recently. We like that. Larson's fine. Larson's something that you put in there right now at 4.3 and hope to upgrade later on in the day. And I'd be fine with that. We take a peek at OKC here as well, guys. OKC, nothing crazy here. I think they're pretty normal. And then Charlotte versus Golden State, guys, not much there in that game. We'll talk about it real quick. Charlotte, I mean, LaMelo Ball's priced up, guys. I don't really want to mess with any of them. I will say Clockburner would be an interesting value if Diaby ends up getting ruled out. He's currently questionable, so just be on the lookout for that. But right now, as it sits, nothing great there. And then we look at Golden State here. Still not too much value there. And then Washington for Denver. We should be getting some good value here as well. And we could be. Like, I think Bagley holds some potential GPP winning upside. I think Middleton holds some potential GPP winning upside. Justin Champagnie, probably a little bit too cheap as well. I agree with kind of the data there. But they are still pretty thin here. And so I could see chasing some of the plays there for Washington. And then Denver, guys, Aaron Gordon, too cheap. Jamal Murray is fine. We know that J Val's out. We know that Jokic is out and Cameron Johnson's still out. Peyton Watson, probably still a little bit too cheap. Jalen Pickett's starting to get priced up correctly, and so is Watson for that matter. But overall, I think we could get to some late pieces here for Denver as well. Now, Murray is questionable. If he were to sit, Watson and Pickett would be great plays. Gordon would benefit there as well. So there is some interesting game theory there. And if Murray sits, guys, that would help keep the game close as well. Denver is 12.5-point favorites here. And so, guys, just kind of going through it, we got to make some lineups now. Okay, I have one player selected in there. Typically, as you guys know, I like to go through it and place players into builds. So that's kind of the interesting part right now. So do we want to bet on Devin Booker sitting? Because if we do, Colin Gillespie, definitely a pretty interesting play. Jalen Pickett, I also don't mind, guys. He's someone that should be a fine play regardless. But if Murray sits, he becomes much more appealing as well. So keep that in mind. Then again, Jordan Goodwin, I really like if Devin Booker sits. And then if Anthony Edwards sits, I think we could be looking at Bones Highland to be a good click there as well. Now, I didn't even mention Bub Carrington, guys. I think he's a fine play. I think we can trust him to get 30 plus minutes regardless. And again, he's at a cheap price tag where it should be good enough. That's kind of the issue. Is like we're getting plenty of good enough plays as it currently sits right now that we could just plug in and then hope to upgrade from once we get the news. And that's honestly basically the slate that we are getting right now. And so I guess I'll just put him in there for now. We can upgrade from him later. And that's somewhat of the same approach here with some of the plays I like here. So like Peyton Watson, I'm fine going back to the well with, guys. Didn't do much in the last game finally. Had 5 personal fouls there. Maybe just wasn't as aggressive. I didn't see that game. It didn't seem like he shot the basketball poorly, but I'm fine kind of going back to him. If you didn't want to play him, again, Norman Powell to me is just at an extremely cheap price tag. He should be a safe play. But he also holds a decent amount of upside if that game ends up being a little bit better than what Vegas is currently expecting. And so a slight adjustment, guys. Let's put Powell in the small forward spot and then Watson in the power forward spot. And then let's continue on. Again, we could pay it for Jalen Johnson. Julius Randle becomes a very great click if Ant-Man's out, guys. Mikal Bridges becomes a very good click if Jalen Brunson is out. Sorry, I clicked on Miles Bridges there. But Mikal Bridges becomes a much better click if Jalen Brunson is out. Andrew Wiggins, I'm fine chasing the upside from him. Okay, again, with Hawkes and Mitchell off the court, he is someone that minutes-wise should benefit. Overall production doesn't go up, but you just get on the court and for a couple more minutes, that does raise your floor a decent amount, so I don't mind him. And again, guys, here's another spot where I'm just going to put Justin Champagnie in there, and maybe we can upgrade as the day progresses once we get more news. But as I'm recording this video, I feel like that's a fine approach to go with here today. From there, Towns. I kind of like Towns regardless, but again, yeah, if Brunson sits, he's very appealing. Mark Williams or even Keita here, I don't mind as potential punt plays for value. Keita is someone that does get a little bit of a bump with Pritchard off the court. So now we have about 7.7 left over. And I don't mind the idea of getting to Derek White. He's been a little bit cold shooting recently, so we can get to him. And then we have the utility spot, guys. We could get to Miles Bridges. Nah, I don't mind. Actually, I'll get to Mikal right now. I think that's a little bit of a better click, hoping that Brunson sits. But again, I don't necessarily want to give you a lineup based off of, hey, if this person sits, that's fine. But it's kind of a unique slate where we are waiting on a lot of news, and that'll change the dynamic of the slate. And if we take a peek at some of the lineups that are being produced, it is kind of going with that approach. But overall, I don't mind some of the builds that's getting to. So if Murray plays, he's fine. It's getting to Fox, Kennard, Larson, Dunn, Bam, Simons, Brown, and Murray as the top build for tonight's slate. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage and the breakdown. I will be going live on the Occupy Fantasy YouTube channel as well later today, covering the NBA slate. So a little bit more in depth. Hopefully we'll have some more information there. So check that out, guys. Leave a like on the video, subscribe as well. And that'll do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.